Good evening. Hello all, 5:29. I don't know what I could ever do if I waited till 5:30. It's so wonderful. Well, I have a couple of things, of course, I'm going to say before we read chapter 19, Laughing Through the Tears. We are having a major thunderstorm in Boca Raton, Florida. So if you hear thunder, for real, this is not the man upstairs. This is the big guy who made it all. So deal with that. God is talking to us too, maybe. God's saying, good, talk. All right. I want to say hi to Jamaica. Thank you, Jamaica. I also want to say thank you to all of you for real. I'm always thankful. Who am I kidding? But I had the most views and viewers on yesterday's reading. And I think because I make it really personal, and that's what I want to do. To me, it is my life, and also to me, it's your life, and possibly what you will be going through. If we lose power, I will be back, to quote Arnold. Got the tissue ready, though I don't think you'll need it. After this book, and I said I'm going to read my 24 hospice stories. The book is called And I Held Their Hands with a Hospice Heart. And it's on my website under the books icon, the books page. And when I said there are 24 stories of people I met through hospice, whether they might be nurses, patients, caregivers, people I met on an airplane who had the little red heart from hospice, what I'm going to, and how I could interact, the same way, in a way, I'm interacting with you when you message me. What I want to do with that book is I want to elaborate more on the people, their story, so you get the feel of them. Hi, David. I want you to get the feel of them, but then I want to elaborate on why their issue was relatable to me and that I could talk to them about it. Though I wrote all about it, that's what I want. I want to be able to, the words elaborate, expound, and as my dear friend who shared this and gave me that revelation, I want to go more in depth. So after this book, when we do the hospice one, it's going to be very in depth because you'll learn even more about my relationship with Jeffrey, and you'll learn even more about myself as I go through it, because each story with someone else has a story with me combined. So like the first half of it would be their story, the next part would be mine. So that's going to be very powerful for many of you because it's still going to be continuing. I always thought that book was more powerful than mine, my autobiography about this. I always thought that one was more important because it had so many other people involved, and those stories you will relate to. So I would suggest you really tell your friends because these stories are incredible. Then when I'm done with that, I'm going to go back to my book. I'm going to keep doing this back and forth until it happens, and the big it will be I'll know. So tell all your friends and share. Go to your media. Tell them what I'm doing. And we're starting a movement. Oh, and the other thing is, and then when I go back to my book again, I'm going to elaborate. I'm going to dissect the paragraphs and expound much more on them. So as I continue after this book and read every day, you're going to learn so much more about how it relates maybe to the news, what we're dealing with today. It's going to relate to you, and I'll ask you more questions about what you're doing. And so it's going to get even more, I think, marvelously empowering. And that's always the word I use. So I was just going to say, I got a comment, a wonderful comment from someone who said that they were not a writer. And I hear this all the time. I mean, half the people I meet when I tell them I'm an author, I'm a writer, half of them will say, I wish I could write. I know I have a story. And I'll say, like I said to this man, he said that it was not his strong suit. So I messaged him back as, again, love your comments, please comment, But if it's more personal, obviously message me or email me. But he said that was not his strong suit, writing. My comment to him was, have you ever written your name on anything? Yes. Means you're a writer. A writer does not mean a book. A writer does not mean a newspaper column. A writer does not mean any kind of a thing. A writer is your thing. You can write. What you do with it is yours. I happen to be a writer and an author. I was born to write. I was always writing as a child. I always had diaries. So writing is anybody who wants to write. You're a writer born to it. You may not be born to be published. You may not be born to do that. But you're a writer. Unless you've never signed anything, you're a writer. And that's what I said to him. Have you written your name on something? I'm sure you did. Did you ever have to sign something? Yeah. Honey, you're a writer. Does it mean you're going to publish? Does it mean you're an author? There's a difference between a writer and an author. I call myself an author. I am an author. That's just where I'm coming from. A writer's a writer. Great. I am an author. A serious, credentialed, authoritative author. And I'm proud of it because it's a gift from God to be able to do this. Even to speak to you without putting all this other fluff in there that people do. I am a writer and a speaker, and I stay with my strong suits. So to anybody who thinks they can't write, yes, you can. All right, I always have to do that for a couple of minutes. We're going to stick now with chapter 19, which I started yesterday, but I really think it's a very important one. And again, I'll probably start a little bit more elaborating, which I think is what made last night's reading very personal. It wasn't the fact that I was crying and sniffling in front of all of you, but it was the fact that I'm getting relatable to you. I'm becoming someone that you could talk to if you met me, and I'd understand. So yesterday was very intense, and as I said, I had the most views and viewers, and I'm grateful to every one of you. But you're helping me to become what I'm continuing to be, and that's someone who talks to you. And that's how it is. I just talk to you. And several other people said that with all their years, someone else said with all their years of self-analysis and therapy, not one therapist ever told them to write their journal. Not one. And this person, I think, said that they were in therapy for real, analysis. When you use analysis, that's serious. You know, you're talking to someone. I would think that's the first thing a therapist. I know when it comes to a food issue or a diet issue or a lot of things, that's the first thing they say. Keep a journal of what you've eaten, when you've eaten it. So for me, my first thing would be say, honey, you can pay a lot of money for self-analysis, but I think you can look in the mirror, talk to yourself a lot, and you can write everything down, and maybe that'll give you some clarity. And I also said I wrote in the third person, which helps alleviate a lot of the stress that, the next day that person made it, so can you. So chapter 19 we're going to get into. I have an itch, and I don't know how to find it. It's going to be chapter 19 is Laughing Through the Tears. And we started this yesterday, but I have to go back. Quote, as children we giggled spontaneously over everything and endlessly over nothing, end quote. I'm sure you all have. When kids sitting at the dinner table, throwing food at each other or feeding the dog, and somebody gets upset and says, what are you doing? And you're all giggling because you're not supposed to. The greatest laughs many times are when you're not supposed to laugh and you just can't keep it in. Dear Jeff, during the most stressful and agonizing times of your illness, I asked myself this question. I love this. Quote, what would I do if an actress, this was a movie, and I was only playing a role? How would I handle this tragedy and cope with the pain? What would I want my audience, you, to see and feel, end quote. The answer would always be the same. Not that, but perhaps. I would want to make you laugh and feel better by turning your sadness into something positive and lighthearted. Wouldn't that be wonderful if we were all actors and actresses playing, quote, let's pretend? How simple life would be if we could walk away from the scene after the scene was over, leaving our problems behind. Yeah, unfortunately, real life isn't a dress rehearsal, and there aren't any understudies for your part. And if laughter is the best medicine, how did you feel after a good laugh? Did you sleep more peacefully? Did it help reduce your stress by making some pretty uncomfortable situations not quite so unpleasant? Icebreakers, they're one of the best ways to diffuse a situation that gets a little tense. Throw them a real icebreaker. How many people over the years did a laugh bring together because it was contagious? You once said, quote, laughing was easy to do and fun to share, end quote. I said, quote, laughter is addicting because it lulls you into a state of euphoria, end quote. For me, this feel-good feeling helped me handle my worst problems with hope. Here's where we're going to really start. I was taught in school, again, I wrote so many columns on health and well-being that so many now of these stories I used in the columns that I was writing for newspapers or magazines. That's why they sound so familiar to me, because I wrote them or I spoke about them. I was taught in school that there were 5 senses. They were the sense of sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. As I got older, I discovered I possessed 2 more. As I got older, I discovered I possessed 2 other intensely powerful senses. They both were about choice and letting go of control and acceptance. The 6th sense is called my common sense. And I have a capital C and a capital S. I think you're either born with this trait or you are not. And I believe that. I don't think you can make someone have common sense. I think it's just a gift. Utilize your strengths. Tone down your weaknesses and enhance your strengths. The other one, the 7th sense, is the most difficult one to maintain, but it is the most important one of all. It is called a sense of humor. Boy, if I don't laugh at myself plenty, my whole life I have laughed at myself. The 7th sense is called a sense of humor. The 6th one is common, and the 7th one is a sense of humor. Laughter and humor helped us to toughen up as life's setbacks and disappointments kept coming along. The humor managed to keep everything in perspective, and it protected us from further pain and suffering. Being able to laugh during these 2 years kept us together and strengthened our bond. Sometimes the humor got misplaced, but eventually we found it again. And no matter how horrible the situation, for 25 years, we managed to keep our 7th sense alive. For me, these 2 senses became my best friends, helping me when nothing else would. Now at this crossroads in my life, I've asked for their assistance and support, yikes, more than ever before. And don't think almost 30 years later, I'm not dealing with this. We have common sense and we have a sense of humor. And I said, through the setbacks and disappointments that kept coming along, these 2 senses helped me. And for 25 years, it helped. For me, though, those two senses became my best friends, helping me when nothing else would. Now, at the crossroads in my life, I have asked for their assistance and support more than ever before. Though I said these were my two best friends at this point, remember I said my 15 handwritten journals were my 15 best friends. So you get a lot of best friends on your journey in life. Most of them you'll have to discover on your own. You can have best friends in the physical, but there's nothing like doing something that is and becomes your best friend to you personally. Since the 5th grade, you always made me laugh with your quick wit and silly comebacks. When Mom heard the laughs coming from my room, she knew we were talking on the phone. We laughed about school, friends, television, and at each other. We liked telling jokes, playing games, and exchanging letters. Yeah, people actually wrote back then. What? You wrote a letter on a pen? Yeah, people did it then when the dinosaurs roamed. Hallelujah. Yes, we liked telling jokes, playing games, and we exchanged letters. I remember when I'd get a letter from him, there was always humor when he was in college and sending it back. It was wonderful. You always found something humorous to talk about. And our friendship was built upon laughter and fun. Your beautiful smile and gentle, happy voice made me feel alive. Remembering all the wonderful laughs we've shared has helped me through the first few weeks. Those memories brought back joyful times with happy feelings. But where is the humor in the possibility of your death and the suffering everyone is enduring? How can I find anything to laugh about now? I was brought to tears when you smiled at me in the hospital. How could one smile reaffirm that you were back in my life? It took a while before we laughed again, but we always managed to give each other a whole lot of smiles. And I remember those, the first time he smiled. I really do, and I can see it. And he was back. I remember the first time, that was one of the hospice stories. The person said, will I ever feel okay again? Will I ever laugh again? Will I ever smile again? And I relate. I can tell them. I remember the first time we really laughed again. You went into the hospital on June 20th, weighing 165 pounds, and came home 2 weeks later, weighing 145 pounds. Because I loved to cook, we assumed you would put the 20 pounds back on quickly. We were sadly mistaken. The adjustment to our new life was much more difficult than we had imagined. You forced yourself to eat, and we weren't handling the food and medication issue well. One of your drugs, I mentioned this previously, one of your drugs had to be taken at breakfast with fatty foods. I went into the kitchen, looked at these 3 giant pills, and out of sheer frustration yelled, quote, "To hell with this," end quote. I found a sterling silver tray, placed a red linen napkin in the center, and jammed those horse pills into the middle of a Snickers candy bar. I changed into a nightgown, and we pretended we were dining in Paris, France. We were hysterical and decided to make a game out of it. You picked out the cities, and I looked for the most delicious, fattening foods that matched. For several weeks, breakfast was served at 9 a.m., and surprise sugar and pills were the entree. You enjoyed taking your meds, gained back the weight, and got stronger. Whenever we saw a candy bar, we giggled. I hope then some of these things that I'm really telling you, you'll be able to help you deal with what you may go through or you are going through. I told you, my issue is HIV and AIDS. Yours is totally something else, perhaps. But isn't that a wonderful remembrance of being able to put his meds that were so strong and these big pills, giving them to a guy who did not like taking, he couldn't take a baby aspirin without choking. And I mean, candy for breakfast was not on our diet list. And I remember I did. I said, I'm the hell with this. And I got the silver tray out, and I put the red napkin in the middle, and I put the candy bar or whatever else he was going to have, and I jammed those pills into whatever it was, and we made that time enjoyable. Do it. Turn it around. You can. You would say, quote, get out the get out the drugs. I'm going to have a feast. And he did. There are so many great stories you're going to hear. But that was the way it was. You enjoyed taking your meds, gained back the weight, and got stronger. Whenever we saw a candy bar, we giggled. As I said, this girl said, how do we find you? Honey, I'm as easy to find as a candy Snickers bar. But you would say, quote, and he did, get out the drugs. I'm going to have a feast, end quote. On one of our cruises, we went to a midnight buffet, dessert buffet. We fell all over ourselves laughing as we ran back to the room, gathered up your pills, and imagined all the different ways you could take your drugs on this vacation. 1 minute I'm crying because of something else, and now I'm laughing through the tears. Isn't that what this chapter's about? You'll never look at your medication again. Let me do one more bit. That was wonderful. As your appetite increased, you wanted to eat. It was your chronic diarrhea that made it difficult for you to gain weight. Every morning you went into the bathroom, weighed yourself, and came out saying, quote, the big guy is holding his own, end quote. What made this funny was that you put on your boxer shorts, leaped into the room, and he started doing bodybuilding poses, because I was weightlifting then. And the poor guy had a great body, and he was muscular. He was doing the same thing. But that's what he would do. He'd go every morning. He went on the bathroom scale, weighed himself, and came out saying, quote, the big guy is holding his own, end quote. What made this funny was that you put on your boxer shorts, leaped into the room, and started doing bodybuilding poses. We played old disco music, and you danced. I would close my eyes, and when I opened them, you would be in another pose. Tears streamed down our cheeks as we howled in laughter. Another time you started to juice. And because you wanted to build up your immune system, we bought an industrial strength juicer. And every day you made a 12-ounce glass of carrot juice. The orange pigment caused your skin, urine, and stools to change color. They will do it if you take enough of this stuff. One morning, you came flying out of the bathroom yelling, quote, I think I just pooped out a whole carrot. My entire stool is orange and it's huge, end quote. I went in and it looked exactly like a carrot. We were hysterical thinking about the assortment and colors your stools could be. Think about that. I said, what, quote, what would you eat to make a rainbow, end quote. Going to the bathroom became something we could laugh about. So, we learned how to make meals fun through the bad times. We learned how to make going to the bathroom enjoyable through the difficult times. And I don't think I'm any different than you. I think if you want to make something horribly difficult more bearable, why don't you use your imagination? You know, I do believe you can use the imagination and come up with things, ideas, and ways to make a bad time not quite so bad, because you're going to have the bad times. Those stories that I just said, to me, they are priceless. Shoving meds in a Snickers bar for breakfast, getting a juicer and having so much carrot juice in you that he's pooping out an orange stool, and the other with the bodybuilding poses, the skinny guy coming out every day to disco music with bodybuilding poses. I mean, it was just a wonderful in and out, ups and downs. This time was no different than my marriage in many ways. Ups and downs and back and forth and chaos. One more. Oh, maybe I shouldn't. Oh, yes, one more. Planning meals was very difficult and dinners became, yeah, we'll get back to the food here. Yeah, planning meals, this is another one here. Planning meals was very difficult and dinners became stressful and unpredictable at times. We never knew if you would be well enough to eat. One night you wanted lamb chops and always made them with lemon and garlic and butter. And he wanted the baby lamb chops. Probably they're $20 a pound now. But one night he wanted lamb chops. He's a gourmet person we're talking about too. He wanted lamb chops with lemon, garlic, and butter. Your appetite was great and the meal was delicious. As we relaxed after the meal, without warning, your face turned green. You said, quote, "I'm going to throw up," end quote. You never made it to the bathroom. You heaved and hurled chunks of lamb everywhere. I yelled, quote, "You're having an effing or exorcism like Linda Blair in the movie," end quote. He never made it to the bathroom after this incredible lamb meat. I mean, you heaved and hurled chunks of lamb everywhere. And when somebody hurls chunks, it's not, I could get it to the toilet and you're okay. No, you hurl it. Chunks of lamb everywhere. I yelled, quote, "You're having an effing exorcism like Linda Blair in the movie," end quote. You almost choked on your own vomit. You laughed so hard. Though it was horrible, it was a horrible experience. We laughed about it for a long time. I have a couple more stories, but I will end here. Just some advice. You're a lot stronger than you give yourself credit for. Don't sell yourself short. Life's not going to be easy. You get to be 30, 40, 50, still maybe coasting a bit. I'm 76. Jesus, I've been through tidal waves, tornadoes, hurricanes. I've been through it all. I'm still here, and I'm smiling. Through the tears, that's what this chapter is, chapter 19. Laughing through the tears. No matter how bad it is, did you ever think maybe a smile might make it better? A laugh might make it healthier? Please. I'll see you tomorrow night at 5:30. Go to Susan. I don't know whether we're going to have Kleenex or not. Please go to SusanMintz.com and you can see photos and read a lot. It's a great site. Go to the books page and you can see Susan's reading. If you don't want to be on Facebook or you don't like it, you can go to my website and under the books page it says Susan Reads Committed to Love, and also the short story. It's very concise. And then you can go to the media page and you can go on my YouTube channel. I said yesterday, gee, I had somebody absolutely go. The YouTube channel has a lot of other things on it, though, a lot of information. So I will say to you, thank you again. You may not be a writer, but you can write. You have other gifts. We all were born with something good, something we can do. Use it. Find out what it is that brings you joy, that's fun, that can help others. Get it out of you. The number one thing is, it's not about you. It is, really, but yet it isn't. I think it's the greatest catch-22 there is. It's not about you, but it is about you. I will say shalom, hello, goodbye, and shalom, peace. On the ending of this Shabbat on Saturday, May you have peace. And I will see you hopefully tomorrow. Please share. I know you are. And be kind. Be a little more patient. And call someone and tell them you love them before it's too late. And you know what? You have FaceTime now. I didn't have any of that. FaceTime even somebody and smile. Just smile. They'll see it. They'll feel it. God bless you all, and thank you so much. I gotta hit finish. Did I hit the hallelujah button? Oh, wait. No, I didn't. Oh, Vicki, I am so sorry. Never, well, better late than never. Hallelujah light. Sorry, Vic. Gee, but it looked good without it, but it's good now. God bless you all. Shalom.